Hello everybody, my name is Jabbadoodles, or Crow, whichever one you decide to use. Today, in this video, I'm doing a speed paint / artist advice kind of video. In this speed paint, I'm drawing my OC Delora. She's from a comic I used to work on, and I'm mainly just drawing her for like a dynamic pose / lighting practice that I wanted to do. I also haven't been drawing much due to like some things in my personal life, such as school and work, and just being way too busy to draw. But yeah, I was super excited to do this drawing. And the speed paint ended up coming out a lot longer than I anticipated, so I decided to make this into a commentary video, because initially I was just going to slap some music on it and call it a day. But, I don't know any 11-minute songs, so. But yeah, in this video I'm going to just talk about, like, growing up as an artist around internet culture, and, like, kind of some of the struggles I faced, and kind of giving advice to younger artists from my experience, especially for common issues I run into with other artists, because I like to teach art. So yeah, I've been drawing for as long as I can remember, even when I was drawing on my mom's white Chevy Cobalt when I was a little girl. It definitely was not fun when she walked out and saw my drawings all over her white car. But yeah, I've always been into drawing, and I've also grew up with a lot of internet access. And being in art and having internet access might not be the healthiest combo for a lot of like younger people. For me, I was in about like 5th grade when I got into internet culture. I got really into like the whole Mary Sue's, don't draw Mary Sue's, and like cartoon and game communities such as Steven Universe, My Little Pony, Creepypasta, Five Nights at Freddy's, so on and so forth. I was really into those communities, and I consumed a lot of content for them. And I even participated on smaller like social media platforms such as like Google Plus and Tumblr. I was really active there. But consuming so much content, especially through YouTube, I ended up having conform myself to some like standards that were entirely unrealistic for somebody who was like, 11? I was like 11, 12, 13, stressing out about like, oh man, I shouldn't draw Mary Sue's because Sav Draws makes fun of them, and I don't want to be like what the My Little Pony commentators don't like, because I was also, young and impressionable, and I just wanted to have good art, and I really wanted to have a platform. Even when I was younger, I always wanted to be like an art influencer, because I thought that'd be so fun. And consuming all this content about like Mary Sue's and what not to do in art and what bad art looks like, it definitely made me really cautious of my art and definitely limited my creativity. In 6th grade, this was about 2016 for me, Hamilton and blew up online. The animation and animatic community was thriving on Hamilton. This is also when animation memes were super popular too. And I remember being so obsessed with like these Hamilton animatics, especially Galactabun. I was very into Galactabun's art. And this is what introduced me to art styles. And I was just so fascinated. Because for me, it was like, wow, Sin has such recognizable art. Galactabun's like style is so like emotional and vivid and fluid, and it's so recognizable. Like if you see their art, you know it's them immediately because of just the way they draw and the little details. And this is also when I got into art commentary videos. So I got into like Lavender Town at the same time, who also had a recognizable style. And I remember like focusing so much on their styles and being like, wow, I wish I was like them. And this is an issue I see a lot amongst young artists, especially like those who were around my age at the time, and wanting a recognizable style and wanting people to be able to see your art and like, yeah, that's Jabbadoodles, or yeah, that's this person, or yeah, that's this user. And I remember trying to copy their styles because I thought that if my style was just as recognizable as theirs, people would see my art and be like, oh yeah, that's Jabbadoodles. And I would try to I copied Galactabun's style in my doodles a lot. And I also went through a phase where I was copying Lavender's Town style, and I realized that was really hindering like my creativity, because I was so focused on conforming my art to an unrealistic standard, to the point where I was not improving the way I wanted to. because my thing had always been stylized realism. Like, I started out as like an anime-esque artist, and then I moved into stylized realism as I began to improve and better understand, you know, like how to draw as I grew up. And a lot of people around me also face this issue. I had some art friends who also wanted a recognizable style, in which they did, but none of us realized that we had our own styles. We just were so focused on being like Galactabun or like Lavender Town or like Sav Draws, you know? And what helped me get out of that was my friends being able to pinpoint like my normal art when I wasn't copying people, and going through like the whole trial and error thing where I would copy the style but not like it, or it didn't look good. And I remember, I actually have a key memory for this. I was playing this online drawing game where everyone would draw anonymously and then vote on the topic. So it'd be like, oh, draw lavender, you know, and everyone would draw lavender, we'd vote on the best lavender. And I remember once my friend told me when we were playing the game together, she was like, I'm not gonna vote for your art because your art's really good and I want to have a chance. And she was like, I know what your art looks like, so I know like not to like vote for it. And it hit me that, and there was other good artists in the server, and it hit me that like I do have a recognizable style, I just didn't see it. And I really want to push that to other artists, like, you do have a recognizable style, you know? I know it doesn't seem like it right now because you're still in the midst of improving, but you're still young, your art skill is still young, and you just need to develop your art as it is, and it'll come naturally. You know, I'm not saying don't admire artists and take after them, but it's also important not to change like what is fundamentally your art because you want other people to recognize it, when in reality, like, you're never going to see your own style because you are your own worst critic. You're always going to see your art for what it isn't and not for what it is. And that's something that I had to like come to realize, was that I'm always going to see my art for what it isn't, you know? Like, oh, my anatomy isn't as accurate as it should be, my form isn't as dynamic, you know, it's kind of stiff. But to other people, it's like, oh, that's, you know, that's Jabadoodle's art, or that's Crow's art, you know? So that's my biggest piece of advice, is that, like, sometimes your friends will help you realize it by like, those little moments like that. But it's also, like, you'll look back on your art and see that, oh, I did have the style, I just didn't see it at the time. Because, you know, you're still growing as an artist. You're still young. Don't press yourself about it. But, yeah, that's all I have to say about that for now. And again, this is just my personal opinion, you know. I'm definitely not the most correct person out there, but I find that to be my process, and I really hope that me sharing my process and my thoughts may help younger artists kind of, like, lay back on themselves, not press themselves too much, because I used to stress out so much and get so frustrated when I saw artists who had such a nice style. Like, I used to get so frustrated. I would try to follow tutorial after tutorial. I remember once I was watching a Ross Draws video on how he did his art, because I was obsessed with him for a period of time, and I would get so frustrated because like my art never looked like his, and it took me realizing that I'm not Ross Draws and I'm never going to be Ross Draws, you know? And I'm always going to be me, and my art's always going to be my art. So yeah, I hope you guys find this helpful. Probably gonna cue some royalty-free music on this one for the remainder of the video. I think there's like a minute left. I don't know. But yeah, thank you for listening and enjoy.